Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in, have a seat, make yourself at home. Hi, my name is Jed Lee, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast, an iHeartRadio Best Kids and Family Podcast Award nominee. We are so very, very happy that you're a part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. We're looking to inspire families to spend more time reading together, and today we're featuring a fantastic book that you will absolutely love reading together with your kids. We'll be interviewing the author, K Coy, learning all about her brand new book, The Best Trip Ever. We also have a very special announcement coming to you later in the show. We have a brand new Reading with Your Kids certified great read. Before we let you know that announcement, before we invite JK in, we want to let you know that this episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by the Queen Vernita Visitor Series by author Dr. Dawn Minge. This is a fun and educational series of 9 books that your family will absolutely love. You're all going to just love following the Queen and her 12 subjects as they explore a new and exotic region each new year. The Queen's subjects teach her all about stalactites, stalagmites, sharks, seahorses, glaciers, volcanoes, and so much more. And in fact, one of the things, and one of the most important things that you'll learn through this series is you learn about kids with different challenges. Dr. Dawn Minge is a special education teacher, and so her books feature characters that have Down syndrome, Rett syndrome, cerebral palsy, deafness, visual impairments, and autism. It's a wonderful way to remind our kids that folks with challenges are people, and they can be fantastic friends. Pam Schneider has provided bright, colorful, and whimsical illustrations that complement the text fantastically. The Queen Vernita Visitor Series will make a great addition to any classroom or any family bookshelf. Be sure to check it out today on Amazon. The Queen Vernita Visitor Series by author Dr. Dawn Minge. This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by our great friends over at Familius Publishing. They are all about helping families be happy. We love Familius. We love all the authors that we've had on the show from Familius. It's just a fantastic company. They are a global trade publishing company that publishes books and other content to help families be happy. We believe that the family is a fundamental unit of society and that happy families are the foundation of a happy life. We recognize that every family looks different, and we passionately believe in helping all families find greater joy. To that end, we publish books for children and adults that invite families to live the Familius 9 habits of happy family life. Love together, play together, learn together, work together, talk together, heal together, read together, eat together, and laugh together. Check them out. They have a great website. It's familius.com, Familius, familius.com. And be sure to follow them on Instagram at Familius Talk. That way you can learn more about all of their titles and stay up to date on the latest releases. That's Familius Publishing. And we also want to let you know that this episode of the show is brought to you by With the Courage of a Mouse, the superhero school series by author Donna Sager-Cowan. Yeah, I'm really excited. About 2 weeks ago, I put out a request to some friends on Facebook, some author friends on Facebook, saying, hey, one of the members of our church family runs a shelter for young homeless mothers. And I thought it would be wonderful if we could bring some great books in so that the moms could get into the habit of reading to their kids and also get into the habit of reading themselves and develop a love of reading themselves and hopefully pass that on to their kids, and in that way helping to break the cycle of poverty and homelessness. And I have to tell you, I was amazed at the response. So many authors responded. And my buddy, Dr. Donna Sager-Cowan, she absolutely responded, sending a number of books, a number of copies of her book, With the Courage of a Mouse. And I love that because this is a fantastic book. It's a middle grade chapter book for ages 7 to 12, focusing on courage, friendship, and finding the superhero inside all of us. I really think it's a super way to empower kids and to empower adults who are reading it to their kids. And let me tell you a little bit about this story. Kat the cat wants a home, a family, and friends she can count on when suddenly she finds herself in Sweet Meadows. Now, that's a long way from the alley she calls home. Kat discovers she can talk, but she can't decide if she's dreaming or dead. Simon is a mouse, and he's having the worst day ever. Instead of celebrating the first day at superhero school, he discovered that he is on the breakfast menu twice. A hawk considered him an easy meal, but quick thinking changed that. And now a cat wants to pounce, but not if Simon can help it. With a quick plan and a matchstick, Simon speeds towards certain death. Will he arrive at superhero school? Join the entire superhero school gang for their first adventure with The Courage of a Mouse, the Superhero School Series, Book 1, a middle grade chapter book read for ages 7 to 12, focusing on courage, friendship, and finding the superhero in all of us. This series touches on common life themes and challenges with humor, patience, and self-improvement techniques. We think Donna Sager-Cowan is a wonderful superhero for her donation to My Friend's Shelter. You will think that this is a fantastic book to add to your family library. Check it out today. The Superhero School Series with the Courage of a Mouse, book number 1 by Donna Sager-Cowan. Joining us right now from Southern California. She's back on the show to celebrate her brand new book, Best Trip Ever. Please welcome back K Coy. JK, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. I'm so excited to learn about this brand new book, Best Trip Ever. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, well, thank you first for having me back. We talked after my second children's book was out, and now I've got a third one out. As you said, it's called Best Trip Ever, and it's written, all of my stories kind of have a dual storyline for the children and parents so that everyone can enjoy it, because as parents, you end up reading the same book again and again. Mm-hmm. So kind of the premise behind this one is the idea that, sometimes as an adult, you need a vacation from your vacation. Mm-hmm. I think we've all been there. But, a kid never sees it that way. When you were a child, you would never see kind of the challenges that a parent goes through, or kind of the small annoyances for a child. Everything, a lot of it's the first time they're doing something or the first time they're seeing something. So seeing a trip through their eyes is so much more fun sometimes than seeing it through the adult version. Mm-hmm. So a lot of this came to me when I was traveling with my own children on airplanes specifically, and just, there's lots of things that come up that aren't always fun when you're doing it as an adult, but I tried to think about it through my kids' eyes and how everything is so much fun. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as you were talking, I was flashing back to some of the vacations that we had with our kids when they were very young, and it was a lot of work.
Exactly. From the packing to getting through security to, just being packed in tight quarters on a plane, just all of that being off schedule. But to a kid, that's what makes it magical, I think.
Yeah. Really, and again, being on a plane with kids, and that's a challenge because, it's not like you're in your car and it doesn't matter if they're making noises or playing the same song over and over and over again. Now you're like in public, and
you're on public display.
Probably have a stranger sitting next to you.
It's on public display.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So what's the reaction been to folks who have checked out the book so far?
Parents find it so relatable, and kids, they love it too, but they don't see that other storyline. I don't try to draw it to attention in a way that a child would understand, kind of the jokes in there. All they're seeing is that they're flying to Grandma and Grandpa's house, and they get to pack a bag, they get to eat a bunch of snacks on the airplane, watch movies, and, meet up with Grandma and Grandpa at the airport. So they love this story, and it's very relatable, and the pictures are of a young child that's appeared in my previous book. So, that's fun. And there's something special for kids to find on every page that carries through if you've read either of my other children's books. There's a little pacifier kind of wubinub that appears on every page for kids to find, so they always love that too.
And that's one of the great things, because you did mention at the start of our chat that, kids, hopefully, when we write a book, it's going to be one of those books that kids want to read over and over and over again. And
yes.
It's so much fun to be able to pick up a book and as a parent and as a kid and find something different every time you read the book.
I know. For myself, there was a book that I loved as a child. I don't know if you've read this one, but it was called Popcorn. You ever
I haven't. No.
read that book? Okay. Well, I read that one as a child many times, and I got something totally different out of it when I read it to my daughter. I went on Amazon and bought it for her when she was about 2 years old, and I read it, and my husband and I both read it, and we're like, this is about a crazy house party. But as a child, I totally didn't get that storyline out of it. So I think that's fun when the two people can read a book together and get two different stories out of it.
That is really fun, and it's a great. Usually when our kids are 2 or 3 or 4 years old, they don't quite get it, but it's an important lesson for older kids to kind of understand that. Different people can look at the same story and get different things out of it and see different things out of it, and that's fun when you're reading a book. But it's a really valuable lesson for all of us to remember, that because we're interacting with people and we're living stories, and we're all living these stories with different pasts and different histories. So we're experiencing the stories together, but in different ways. I don't know if I made sense there, but
no, I love that. It's very profound, but it's very true. Everybody comes into a situation with their own perspectives and their own past experiences that will change how they see the same thing. So I love that. I guess your inspiration for writing, your books on kind of two different levels. I'm remembering when I was in orchestra and seeing the conductor's sheet music, and there's all this great. There was a line for the brass, and there was a line for the percussion, a line for the strings, and that's kind of what you're doing with your stories. You're writing for adults and for kids, and Was the inspiration purely from your own memory of like, oh yeah, I remember reading with my kids, and I want to entertain the adults too as they're reading this? Well, I have a 1.5 and a 3.5-year-old, so I definitely come into it from the perspective of, if I have a children's book, I'm going to have to read it numerous times if it's a good one, and so it is more fun if the parents enjoy it. So I definitely come at it with that perspective whenever I write.
I guess one of the things that somebody listening to this might want to ask is, as a parent of kids so young, where do you find time to write?
Well, when you've got parents or children that young, they inspire you all the time. So I'm always writing in my head. Rarely does it actually make it onto paper and then into my computer. But this story came to me primarily right after I had been traveling with my 2 kids. I don't even remember their ages at that point. My youngest must have been around a newborn when I first wrote it. But so I just scrolled it down in my notebook, and eventually I got back to it and got the illustrations created and really turned it into a finished story. But what was fun is that I recently traveled with them. We took a family trip to Hawaii about a month ago, and as we were on the plane, I got to basically see the book come alive. All the scenes that I had written the first time we had traveled were happening again. And so I'm like, well, if this has happened to me multiple times and this is how I felt as a parent, I know other families are going to be able to relate. So that's fun. And it's fun to be able to try to put some laughter into the situation because, as you said, it's just busy and challenging to travel as a parent. But you want to do that for your kids. You want to let them experience the world, and even if it's not always convenient for you, you remember all the awesome memories you have as a child from traveling. So it's important.
And, as you're talking, one of the things that strikes me is we hear a lot of times comedians make jokes about, being on a plane with kids and how annoying it is. And, you oftentimes hear stories of adults complaining about the kid who cried the whole way in the trip. And yeah, it's challenging, but we had an experience. I think I talked about this on the podcast where we coming back from Panama, we were delayed in Miami for hours and hours, and it was like every half hour there was a gate change, and it wasn't from gate 7 to gate 9, it was from gate 7 to gate 53, and then 53 to 14, and we're running back and forth all night, and there was this mom who was traveling with the 3-year-old and a 3-month-old, and that's it. And she had to, and there were some people who were annoyed at the 3-year-old. And my wife and I, we got up and we were helping this mom, this little family, move from place to place. And it's like, why can't you have some empathy for this woman? She has to travel. It's not like a choice. She's not going on vacation. She had to travel. And it's like, this is really challenging. Can't we be human and have some empathy and help out?
Yeah, well, there should be more people like you in the airport, but I will say that I have experienced some really great people while traveling. Mm-hmm. It's usually other parents who might be not traveling with their children that day, so they have free hands, but they get it. Mm-hmm. They usually step in and are awesome to either hold your kid's hand while you go do something, or, just help the parent out, grab a bag, because there's never enough hands when you've got young kids, especially while traveling. There's just always way too much gear that you've got to bring with. So that's awesome. But no, not everybody does have compassion, and it's tough.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the great things about traveling, is, especially with our kids, is it helps them develop some compassion and some empathy and some understanding for folks from different places and folks who are different from us.
For sure. Yeah, that's the great part of traveling. And, kids are so open to new things when they're young. So I like to take advantage of that.
Now, if you had a magic wand and you could just wave it and travel to any place in the world with your family, where would you go?
Oh, let's see. I would love to go back to Europe, but I want to wait till the kids are a little bit older. Mm-hmm. There's so much walking in Europe. The streets are not made for the strollers of the United States, with the cobblestone and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a go, 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 lots of history type of thing. So we actually got invited to go to Italy with some friends in a couple months, and we actually declined that trip, as sad as that is to say, but we just felt like we as a family weren't going to get enough out of it at this point. My husband and I have been a couple times and absolutely love it, but we want to take them when they're a little older for that kind of trip. Yeah. Hawaii was more of a beach trip, and that's where we're at these days. And that was still tough with 2 kids and nap time, so.
Well, being on the beach is a great place to be, and being on the beach with some of your books it's a really great idea. And I love that you write from, kind of help us see life through the perspective of the kids. The other book that you spoke about was My Mom is the Worst. Did I get the title right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. What do you think was it that kind of inspired you to take this perspective and kind of write from the child's point of view?
Well, like I said, I think that I wrote it while traveling, and there's one way of seeing things, and sometimes it's not as fun to see things, in reality as it is to see things through a child's eyes. So I took something that wasn't as happy for me at that moment and turned it into something fun, because I knew my kids would never remember, they'd never remember waiting in line. They'd never remember all the bags. They'd never remember rushing to the airport. They would never remember, dealing with crabby people at the ticket counter. They don't see those things. They're going to remember running around the airport. They're going to remember making new friends with the flight attendant. They're going to remember all the snacks they got to eat. They're going to remember that they got to go up in an airplane. So that's what I want them to see when they read this story.
Yeah.
How awesome travel is, and to get excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one of the things you mentioned in our conversation was that you have all these ideas and you're experiencing life with your kids. There any ideas that you're working on for a future book?
Oh, of course. The next one that I've got written down is just an idea about how we keep them little. So it's, of course, inspired by life right now, but it's about my 3.5-year-old. She's not so little anymore. Mm-hmm. So it's about how we can keep them little. Very
cool. One of the things that JK and I were talking about before we started recording was the recent earthquakes in California and the fact that you folks experienced it in the car at a stop sign and you didn't realize it was an earthquake. I think that would be a fun kind of topic for a children's story.
Yeah, maybe. I hadn't thought about that, but that's a possibility for sure.
Well, where can folks connect with you online to learn more about the best trip ever?
Yeah, we're over on Facebook and Instagram at Stories by K Coy. And then I also update my website often at mymomistheworst.com.
Awesome. Well, we've been talking today to the author of the brand new book, Best Trip Ever, K Coy. JK, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
We told you at the top of the show that we have a special announcement to make, and we do. We have a brand new Reading with Your Kids certified great read. It is The Crab Apple Tree, Live an Authentic Life, a beautiful book written by Tom O'Toole. It really is a wonderful book. We think it's an important book that inspires kids to focus on kindness and feeling good and proud about who you are. The Crab Apple Tree is a powerful book that follows the story of a young boy named Hopeful. He's part of a family of 5, a daddy, a mommy, a little girl, and her little brother, and a baby girl. Hopeful had a younger brother who died, so his family was sad, but that was until they found a perfect new home that also had a strong and beautiful apple tree in the backyard, the crab apple tree. Hopeful loved his apple tree, was excited to taste the apples that it produced. He didn't care if the apples were green or yellow or red because an apple is an apple is an apple. Later in the autumn, some vexing voices approached Hopeful's parents and suggested that the apple tree needed to be cut down as it was not producing real apples. Will Hopeful, who initially tries to follow the opinion of others, be able to find courage and stand up for his beloved tree? We think this is a wonderful book that will help kids learn to love themselves and stand up for themselves and also stand up for others. It's a beautiful book, and it is our latest Reading with Your Kids certified great read. It's The Crab Apple Tree by Tom O'Toole. Congratulations! We want to invite you to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Jessie Hartland. She will be here to talk to us about her new book, My Tiny Pet, and you'll be surprised about this pet. It blew me away. Really, really fun. If you are the author of a fantastic book and are having trouble promoting and helping it stand out amongst the crowd of books that are published every single week, why don't you consider the Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read program? We have a panel of evaluators, their teachers, their parents, their kids, and if they believe that your book is worthy of 4 or 5 out of 5 stars, it becomes a certified great read. And with that status comes all sorts of great tools to help you promote your book. You can learn more about it by going to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so very special. Of course, we want to thank the author of The Best Trip Ever, K Coy. Be sure to check out this fun new book. We also want to thank our sponsors, Dr. Dawn Minge. Check out her Queen Veneta Visitor Series. We want to thank Donna Sager-Cowan. Check out her With the Courage of a Mouse, book number 1 in the Superhero School series. And, of course, we want to thank our dear friends at FamiliusPublishing.com. They have so many wonderful titles that will just be a perfect addition to your family library. Check them out at Familius Talk on Instagram and also at Familius.com. And, of course, we want to thank my producer, Fatima Khan. be sure to check out her blog on our website, readingwithyourkids.com. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support that she gives me, and I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and as always, thank you so much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.